Alright, so this tutorial is going to cover graphing linear inequalities in two variables. And I'm going to simplify it. I've just gone through your tutorial and I found one of the practice problems. I think it's on like the third page of your tutorial. So I'm just going to explain how this works. It's actually a fairly simple process, and if you already know how to graph lines, so y equals mx plus b, this is pretty much the same thing. So first things first is you want to get this in the form y equals mx plus b. This inequality here, you can actually treat as if it's an equal sign temporarily, okay? So the idea is it is still an inequality, so you are going to have to deal with that. But sorry, my camera was freezing up. Anyway, but don't forget that you have to flip the sign if you multiply or divide by a negative number. In this case, we're not going to have to do that, so it's not going to matter. But just keep it in mind for later on. So just note whenever you have to flip the sign. In any case, we're going to treat it like an equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the problem as if it's an equal sign, just to make it a little easier to relate to for those of you that already know how to graph lines. And then I'm going to solve it and get it in the form of y equals mx plus b. And remember, your b is your y-intercept, and your m is going to be your slope. Now, if you don't remember this and y equals mx plus b looks completely new to you, it would probably help to go back a few tutorials to where they're teaching you how to graph just lines. Okay, so graphing linear equations would be that tutorial that you need to go back to, but that is the formula that we need to get into. So I'm going to get this negative 2x to move over here, that way I have a y equals. And so to move negative 2x to the side, I have to add 2x to both sides. That cancels out over here. All I'm left with is y. Bring down my equal sign. And now I've got technically 1 plus 2x. Alright, but what annoys me about this is that this is not mx plus b. This is like b plus mx. So I'm just going to flip these around. So it's a positive 2x first and then a positive 1 afterwards. So y equals positive 2x plus 1. Alright? So this is the equation you're going to work with. However, you're going to move it one more step, and what you're going to do is you're going to replace that equal sign with your inequality. Y is, and remember what your inequality was, it's a less than equal to sign, so a less than equal to sign 2x plus 1. Now that we've got all that set out, all we have to do is move into our graphing. So let's go ahead and graph our lines. I'm going to draw kind of a rough draft. I recommend that you guys do this a little neater than I do. I'm not exactly the neatest person with graphs. I don't do too well with graphs, so don't take my example here. In any case, let's go ahead and graph it. Here's our y-intercept, so I'm just going to go up to 1, and I'm going to put my y-intercept dot. Okay, so there's 1, there's my y-intercept dot. And here I have a slope of 2, m equals 2. All right, so if my slope is 2, I'm going to go up 1, 2 over 1. Up 1, 2 over 1 more. And then technically I could keep going, but I really only need one dot because now I've got a line that looks like this. All right. Cool. Now we have a line. And keep in mind, I kept mine as a whole line. Like you'll notice it's a solid line because I have this bar under here, that equal to sign. If I did not have that bar, this would be a dash line. Okay. So the next thing to make sure of is where to shade. So this is just a graphing portion. Graphing portion, like I said, if you need a bigger review, you probably want to go check out graphing linear equations. But this is inequalities, so we have to go one more step. We have to shade. All right, so let's talk about shading. To determine shading, all we have to do is we take this formula, y is less than equal to 2x plus 1. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point anywhere on this graph. And technically, I could pick a point like infinity comma 0. I could pick a point like 0 comma infinity. I could pick this point like negative 3, 4, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. I can pick any point I want as long as it's not on the line. The easiest point that I find to use is 0, 0. Alright, so 0, 0 is super easy to use because it normally isn't on the line, and when it's not, it's just easy to plug in. So I'll show you this. Remember, your coordinates are given an x comma y. So this is a 0 comma 0. I'm just going to replace the x's and y's in my original equation with these zeros. So 0 is less than equal to 2 times 0 plus 1. Now do the math. 0 is less than equal to 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1. Do the math. 0 is less than equal to 1. Is 0 less than or equal to 1? It is less than or equal to 1, so you have one more step in all this, okay? So if you find out that it's true, you shade wherever your point is. Oh, sorry, you guys can't really see that. There we go. So if you find that this is true, I want you to shade wherever this point is. So you told me 0 is less than 1. So you're going to shade on the side that 0, 0 is on. 0, 0 happens to be on the bottom here, so I'm going to go ahead and shade it like that. Okay? If it proved false, so if this was like 10 is less than or equal to 1, obviously 10 is not less than 1, so you'd have to shade the opposite side. You're pretty much just testing a point to figure out what side is true, and you shade the true side. Okay, so this is the true side. Alright, that is graphing inequalities. That is really all it is. So remember, again, let's go step by step. It's just y is whatever. So here's your original equation. Get it in the form of y equals mx plus b. Replace your inequality sign. Now after you've done that, graph your line. Alright, so we graphed a line. Pick a point. Doesn't really matter what point as long as it's not on the line. I recommend 0, 0 because those numbers are easy to deal with. But if you really want to pick like -3, +4, go ahead. It doesn't matter to me. Alright, let me show you what would happen if you happen to plug in -3, +4. Let's pick, so -3, so I don't know, 1, 2, 3, +4 would be somewhere around here. Let's pretend we're testing this point up here. So we're going to use the same equation. Y is still less than or equal to 2x plus 1. You guys can't see that. Give me one sec. Yeah. There you go. All right, and then now we're going to plug in -3, +4, just to test, so you guys can see what happens if you don't pick my point 0, 0. You can pick any point. So let's do -3, +4. Remember, that's x comma y. So that's y is 4 is less than or equal to 2 times -3 plus 1. And 2 times -3 is -6. -6 plus 1 is going to be -5. Alright, so 4 is less than -5. Is that true? No, it's not. Negative numbers are always going to be smaller than your positives, so you can't shade up here. You have to shade in this bottom part. So it'll prove true no matter what point you use. Alright, so we kept this at about 7 minutes. That should be quick enough. That's the entirety of this lesson, so make sure to give it a try. Don't forget to differentiate between dashed and whole lines. So this is a not a bold line. This is a solid line because I have that equal to sign. But if I didn't have that equal to sign, and if it was just less than, this would be a dash line. Alright guys, best of luck and let me know if you guys need anything else.